A new op-ed from one of the handful of columnists that President Biden reads closely. David Ignatius writing in the Washington Post, President Biden should not run again in 2024. He points to his age and Vice President Kamala Harris's poll numbers as reasons, and I'm quoting him now, Biden risks undoing his greatest achievement, which was stopping Trump. This op-ed, of course, dropping as Republicans launched an impeachment inquiry into the president on Capitol Hill. James Carville ran Bill Clinton's 1992 winning campaign. He invented the modern-day political war room to respond to attacks, and he joins me now. Thank you so much, James, for being here. I mean, what David Ignatius is writing is he says this isn't just a Fox News trope. I'm quoting him. He says it is the subject of dinner table conversations across America this summer. Does he have a point?
Of course he does. I mean, plenty of things I can come on your program and say that's just Fox News made up stuff. We need to pivot and segue to the real issues and talk about infrastructure, education, or something else. And it's not just what David Ignatius thinks or James Carville thinks or some pundit thinks. It's the American public has real doubts about this. And you can see it in poll after poll after poll. Now, the White House gets frustrated with the media for bringing it up, but they're not going to stop. This is going to continue to be an issue, and they're going to have to figure a way to address it and address it forthrightly. But the idea of saying this is not a real issue and you got to talk about something else, that doesn't work because the public, it's a water cooler issue with the public. It just is. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And you see it.
He says that basically they got to decide this soon or the stone will be cast, the decision will be made. Democrats, there won't be time to find an alternative. Do you agree that it's a quick timeline here?
No, I don't. I know it's a different era. President Clinton didn't announce until early October of 1991. Lyndon Johnson was running for president in March of 1968. And so I'm got on my podcast, I got Elaine Kmark, who's an expert who writes books about delegate selection and timelines and things like that. And I think that's some beltway mislogic that if you don't do it within the next 10 days or 14 days, the process inevitably breaks down. I don't agree with that. But by the way, to be honest, there's no sign that President Biden is not fully intending to run for re-election. I have to say that. I have no inclination that they're reconsidering this or anything like that. And I don't think anybody else does, to be honest with you. But the idea that that drop dead date is September the 26th, I think is poppycock.
Yeah, that's a good point because there is no indication that President Biden, I mean, he likes David Ignatius. There's no sign he's listening to him. When it
Right.
comes to the impeachment inquiry overall, what do you make of how the White House has been handling it so far? Do you think they're being aggressive enough or should there be a war room? Should there be a more out front effort from them?
Well, my honest opinion is the people they have leading it are not very smart. In fact, they're borderline stupid. I mean, James Comer or Jim Jordan. And the people in the House that are going to be on this committee, like Dan Goldman, Delegate Plaskett, I think is from Virgin Islands, uh, Jamie Raskin, these are very smart people. I don't think the White House needs to worry too much about this and let these congressional Democrats who are whip smart are just going to eat these people alive. I so want them to do this. I can't tell you how much I want them to do this. This is a very
You
stupid
want them to do
idea.
the impeachment? What do you mean?
I want them to hold hearings.
Why do you think it's a
I
stupid
want them to hold
idea?
hearings, and I want and I want to let people, the American public, see how thin, how non-existent their case is. If the president did anything wrong, and I want our people who are quite effective lawyers to get them on cross-examination and do what they're going to do and make fools out of them.
There's some polling from CNN and from others as well about even though, as you know, we just talked about the congressman, there's no direct evidence tying President Biden to benefiting from this. 61% of people do think that he was involved. There's other numbers of people who have questions about it. Do you not think that those hearings could raise those numbers, could change that? What's your sense?
I think it would change it. I think it would drive it down because the public would pay attention to the hearings and they would see front and center how vapid and useless this entire endeavor is when it comes to the president doing anything wrong. I mean, how much more can you embarrass Hunter Biden? But there is zero evidence that the president had not made a single penny out of this. And they're going to drive that point home, Caitlin. They're going to drive it home hard. and our people in the House, I have a great deal of not so much affection for them, but respect for their legal expertise. I would not want Dan Goldman to cross-examine me. I really wouldn't.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you're saying you think impeachment could be a good thing. Is that right?
That is correct. You're not putting words in my mouth. You're saying, during the Civil War, when the Sherman marched in Atlanta, they told him that John Bell Hood was taking the Confederate Army north. He said, "Good, I'll send them rations. Let them go. Great." And that ended up at the Battle of Franklin, which was utter disaster. And that's just what they're walking into. Yeah, I actually think I was I was happy when McCarthy got out there and said that. That I thought, oh, wow, how could we get so lucky?